We are going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us today for this webinar on the ARD Essentials. My name is Stephanie McLaughlin. I'm the Training and Evaluation Specialist for the Partners Resource Network. We are the nonprofit agency that operates the Texas statewide network of parent training and information centers. We are funded through the Department of Education Office of Special Education, and you may be more familiar with us through our PTI project names. Those are PATH, PIN, and TEAM. At Partners Resource Network, we strive to empower and support Texas families and individuals that have been impacted by disabilities or special healthcare needs. We're so glad to have you join us today. Joining us also is Christina Henning. She is our Director of Statewide Services. We have Chelsea Rivas, she's our Support Specialist, and Zach Hidalgo is our Technology Specialist. If you're having any technical difficulties, you can reach out to Zach in the chat box and he'll help you with those. For those of you who are needing a certificate of attendance, you will receive an email thanking you for attending today's webinar. You can follow the link in that email to get your certificate of attendance. Just to let you know, our Q&A time will be limited today in order to facilitate the focus group at 1 o'clock. We hope you will stay on and join us for that focus group at that time. You can ask your questions in the Q&A box. And if you have a question that we aren't able to answer today due to time, please reach out to us at Partners Resource Network or reach out to our wonderful partners at SpedTex, and we will be happy to assist you. We will also be recording today's webinar, and the recording will be available on our website in the coming days at prntexas.org. So I want to introduce and take a minute to say thank you to Gracie for joining us from SpedTex. And Gracie, you want to tell us a little bit about SpedTex?
I had to unmute myself, so sorry. My pleasure to work with Partners Resource Network and our presenters from ESC4. Just a bit about SpedTex. SpedTex is the Special Education Information Center for Texas. We are a collaborative project between Texas Education Agency and Region 10 Education Service Center. We provide information and resources that can help parents understand their child's disability, rights, and responsibilities under IDEA, as well as facilitate collaboration when there are concerns between the parent and the school district. We are a resource not just for parents, but also for educators, and we welcome an opportunity to help anyone. So if you ever have questions, concerns about anything related to special education, please contact us at SpedTex, and our information is on the screen. We'd be happy to help.
Thank you, Gracie, and thank you for working with us to put together this wonderful webinar. I want to get us to our speaker as soon as possible, so we have as much time as possible before our focus group. So Nicole Price, thank you so much for joining us today. Nicole is a licensed specialist in school psychology and a nationally certified school psychologist. She served in this role for 14 years in the Texas public school system, with more than 5 years as the lead school psychologist in a Region 4 school district, supervising LSSPs, diagnosticians, and special education counselors, and more than 4 years as a school psychologist internship coordinator, supervising practicum students, interns, and trainee level LSSPs in the North Texas area. Currently, she is an education specialist in the Special Education Solutions Department at the Region 4 Education Service Center, where she provides technical assistance and professional development to evaluation personnel in the greater Houston area and around the state. She also serves on the Child Find Evaluation ARD supports statewide network team. So Nicole, thank you so much for joining us, and we're going to turn it over to you and hear what you have for us.
All right, thank you guys for having me today. I'm going to share my screen. And here we go. All right, is that showing up okay?
Yes, we got it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us today for this live virtual workshop. This workshop is designed to provide parents and guardians of students with disabilities with a fundamental understanding of the admission, review, and Dismissal, or ARD, as it is frequently called, committee, and provide some essential knowledge on the committee's membership, legal requirements of the ARD committee, and best practices on how to handle questions and concerns about the ARD process. Please note that this presentation is copyrighted by the Texas Education Agency, and if you have any questions or need further information, please contact copyrights@tea.texas.gov. In collaboration with Partners Resource Network and SpedTex, today's presentation is provided by TEA's Child Find Evaluation and Art Supports Network. And your presenter for today is me, Nicole Price, Child Find Evaluation and Art Support Statewide Network Representative. I'm very happy to be with you today and have this opportunity. We're sharing the link to the handout for today's session in the chat box. And you can also contact us at childfindtx, all one word, at esc4.net to request the handout link. And that email address will show it again at the end of today's session. So the Parent's Guide to the Admission Review and Dismissal Process is a very helpful resource for parents and guardians of students receiving special education and related services. It's currently available in 20 languages on the Special Education Information Center, or SpedTex, website, and a link to their website is included in the resources section at the end of this presentation. And we'll also share the links in the chat box. These are the topics that we plan to review with you today: the duties of the ARD Committee, who must attend the ARD meeting, meeting notices and parent or guardian requests, participation options and tips, what's in an individualized education program, what to do if you disagree, some tips to advocate for your child, and links to resources. If you have any questions or need clarification during the presentation, please type them in the Q&A box. Let's start today's presentation by discussing a few duties of the ARD Committee. If your child is struggling in school, it's important to find out why. And it may be that a disability is affecting your child's educational performance. And if so, your child may be eligible for special education and related services that can help. Should your child be referred for an initial evaluation for special education services, the school will conduct a full individual initial evaluation, or an FIIE, for your child in all areas of suspected disability. And after the initial evaluation report is completed, an admission, review, dismissal, or ARD committee must be formed to review the full initial individual evaluation report and determine whether your child is eligible for special education and related services. Federal regulations refer to an IEP team, so you may see that term at times, but in Texas, this team is referred to as the Admission, Review, and Dismissal, or ARD Committee. And should your child be determined eligible for services, the ARD Committee, which includes you, the parent or guardian, will develop an individualized education program that contains the special education and related services to address the education needs for your child. So following this initial evaluation, the ARD Committee is the team that meets to do these things: determine whether your child meets eligibility requirements, develop an IEP for him or her if appropriate, and then again, determine what special education and related services are needed. The ARD Committee meets at least once a year to review your child's IEP and discuss your child's progress, and develop a new IEP for the upcoming year. As a parent or guardian, you bring important information to the ARD meeting. You know your child's strengths and weaknesses and all the little differences that make your child unique. Your knowledge can help the ARD Committee develop an IEP that will work best for your child. The IEP committee can also meet to review and must revise the IEP, or individualized education program, as appropriate to address any lack of expected progress towards the annual goals and in the general education curriculum, where appropriate, the results of any reevaluation, information about your child provided to or by the parent or guardian in the review of existing evaluation data, which is also called a read, your child's anticipated needs, or any other matters, such as transition services. There are times where an amendment can be done without a meeting. Changes to an IEP may be made by amending the IEP if you, the parent guardian of a child with a disability, and the school agree not to hold an ARD committee meeting to make or add the changes, and the school develops a written document to change your child's current IEP. If the IEP is amended without an ARD committee meeting, the ARD committee members, including you, must be informed of those changes. And upon request, a copy of the revised IEP must be provided to you. There are some circumstances in which an amendment cannot be completed. These include changes to eligibility determinations, changes in placement, and manifestation determination reviews, or what you may hear called an MDR. An example of an eligibility determination would be reviewing a new evaluation to consider an additional or different special education disability condition. A change in placement example is if you or the school are proposing to move your child from a general education classroom to a special education classroom for part of the day. Manifestation determination reviews are when your child is assigned discipline that would change his or her placement. When that happens, a meeting called a manifestation review or manifestation determination review is held to consider if the behavior was caused by the disability. All of these decisions, eligibility, changes in placement, and manifestation determination reviews, require the committee to meet. An amendment or change without a meeting is not allowed in these situations. Let's move on to discussing the required members of an ARD committee in this next section. ARD committees must include the following members. You, the parent or guardian, at least one regular education teacher of your child, at least one special education teacher or provider of your child, a representative of the school district. That's usually a principal, assistant principal, or another district administrator. An individual who can interpret the instructional implications of evaluation results. This might be an educational diagnostician, speech pathologist, licensed specialist in school psychology or LSSP, but it could also be another member of the committee who fills this role, like the special education teacher or administrator. Also, other individuals who have knowledge or special expertise regarding your child, including related services personnel who are invited by you or the school. This might be someone who provides related services to your child, like a counselor or occupational therapist. And then your child whenever appropriate. Depending on the needs of your child, additional members may also include, with your consent or your child's consent once he or she reaches age 18, a representative of any participating agency that is likely to be responsible for providing or paying for transition services, such as the Texas Workforce Commission. A representative from Career and Technical Education, or what's commonly called CTE, preferably the teacher, when considering initial or continued placement of your child in CTE, and a representative who is on the Language Proficiency Assessment Committee, or LPAC, if your child is identified as an English learner. And then also, depending on the needs of your child, other potential members can include teachers of students with visual impairments, teachers of students who are deaf or hard of hearing, and other personnel as appropriate. Now we're going to discuss when you should receive an ARD meeting notice and ways you can request an ARD meeting. Parents and guardians are vital to the true success of a student's individualized education program, and this starts even from the first step of notifying the parent or guardian of the meeting. You should receive notice of the meeting at least 5 school days before the meeting, unless you agree to a shorter time frame. The notice should include the meeting purpose, place and time of the meeting, and list of the people attending the meeting. If you are unable to speak English, the school must provide the notice in your native language, unless it is clearly not feasible to do so. If your native language is not a written language, the school must take steps to ensure that the notice is translated orally or by other means so that you understand the notice. Be sure to promptly reply to the meeting notice. And if you cannot attend, you can ask the district to reschedule the meeting to another date and time that will work for both you and the school. You may want to give the school some alternate days and times when you can attend. Some recommendations to make sure the campus has the information they need to inform you about the meeting include confirming that your child's school has your correct mailing address, phone numbers, and email address. Be sure to update your contact information if changes are needed. And let the school know if you need an interpreter, oral translation, or anything else to help you participate in the meeting. You may request an ARD meeting at any time. If you ask for an ARD committee meeting in writing, the school must either schedule and hold the meeting at a mutually agreed upon date and time, or within 5 school days, provide you with written notice explaining why the school refuses to hold a meeting. Now, let's discuss the options for attending the meeting, as well as tips to help you have meaningful participation in the ARD committee meeting. The school must take steps to ensure that one or both parents or guardians are present at each ARD committee meeting or are afforded the opportunity to participate via other means. If you cannot be present in the face-to-face or virtual meeting, you have several options. You can attend by phone. You can request the meeting to be rescheduled and mutually agree upon a future date, time, and location. You can also allow the school to proceed without you and then notify you of the discussion and development of your child's IEP. Be sure to communicate with the school staff about your preference for attending the meeting. Here are some tips that can help you prepare for your child's ARD meeting while developing a collaborative relationship with your school. Request a draft of the IEP prior to the meeting so that you may review proposed goals and services and make suggestions at the meeting. Write down all of your questions, concerns, or suggestions that you have prior to the meeting. You can share this information with your child's school. Ask questions, offer suggestions, and bring ideas to the table during the meeting. Remember, you are your child's voice. If the ARD committee meeting will be held via video conferencing, such as this, here are some tips that will help you prepare for an effective virtual ARD meeting for your child. Ask about the technology platform being used and requirements for using it successfully. Share any technology concerns or potential barriers you may have about participating in the meeting virtually, and confirm your participation. Create your backup plan, such as print documents or ask for print copies, charge your cell phone, and have a call-in number readily available. In addition, ask for an agenda or meeting norms. For example, use video if possible, or keep the focus on your child, and mute the microphone when not speaking. Remove distractions and minimize background noise as much as possible. and request interpreters or other supports if needed. It's a good idea to join the virtual ARD Committee meeting 5 to 10 minutes early to work out any technology issues, clarify any questions you may have about the meeting norms, and to ensure a prompt beginning. Let's go over some tips on participating in a virtual ARD meeting. Be patient. Technology may not work as intended, so assume that everyone is doing their best. Listen closely and wait to share your thoughts and ideas until the current speaker finishes. Introduce yourself before speaking and use video if possible. Stop frequently and provide participants enough time to ask and respond to questions and feedback. You may also want to discuss and agree on the processes for obtaining forms or signatures if necessary. And be sure to confirm the method for receiving a copy of the completed IEP document, such as mail, email, pickup, and the anticipated arrival date. So let's talk about what goes into an individualized education program. Remember, the ARD Committee is the group of people that help develop the IEP. Key elements of your child's IEP include the present levels of academic achievement and functional performance. You may hear this referred to as a PLAF. The annual goals, a description of the special education, related services, and supplementary aids and services that will be provided, information regarding how your child will participate in state and district-wide assessments, and other areas that must be addressed for children with certain disabilities, needs, or circumstances, and transition services when age appropriate. We're going to spend a little bit of time now explaining each one of these major components in more detail. Let's begin with the present levels of academic achievement and functional performance, or PLAFs. During this part of the meeting, the committee reviews the data and information regarding your child's progress, as well as strengths and areas of need in academics and functional performance. Academic areas include subjects such as reading, writing, math, science, social studies, etc. And functional performance areas can include behavior, language, social skills, etc. The present levels of performance must also include how your child's disability affects their involvement and progress in the general curriculum. If your child is a preschool child, the statement must explain how the disability affects participation in age-appropriate activities. Your input is valued during this discussion, so please ask questions and share any information you have about your child in the various areas. The IEP must contain measurable annual goals designed to meet your child's needs resulting from the disability so that he or she can be involved and progress in the general curriculum. These goals must also address other educational needs that result from your child's disability. The IEP must describe how your child's progress toward the annual goals will be measured and when the progress reports will be provided to you. The ARD Committee decides what services are needed in order to enable your child to advance appropriately towards attaining the annual goals, be involved and make progress in the general curriculum, including participation in extracurricular and non-academic activities, and be educated and participate with children without disabilities. The IEP must include a statement of needed special education, related services, and supplementary aids and services to be provided to your child or on behalf of your child. These services should be based on available peer-reviewed research. Children who receive special education services will take the appropriate state assessments, STAR or STAR Alternate 2, which are based on grade level content. If the student is an English learner, he or she will take the appropriate language proficiency assessment, TELPAS, or TELPAS alternate. If the ARD Committee determines that accommodations are necessary for your child to participate in these assessments, his or her IEP must contain a statement of the appropriate accommodations. Remember, not all of the accommodations that are appropriate for classroom instruction are allowed on state assessments. Please provide your input and ask questions about available accommodations. Remember that your input is vital to the process, so school and home are working together to help your child succeed. Transition services are a coordinated set of activities designed to assist your child as he or she moves from school to post-school activities. Initially, transition must be considered and, if appropriate, addressed at the annual ARD meeting prior to your child turning 14 years old, or earlier if the ARD Committee determines it is needed. Transition must be considered and addressed at each following ARD meeting. For all students, assistive technology, or AT, must be addressed. For every student who receives special education services, the ARD Committee must consider whether your child needs assistive technology devices and services. Some examples include text-to-speech software, digital recorders, visual schedules, and slant boards. This does not necessarily mean that all students require a formal AT evaluation. There are many items and devices that, depending on your child's needs, can be considered assistive technology. In addition, a school is not required to provide students with the best or highest technology available, but technology that provides some meaningful educational benefit to the student. Some students, based on their disability and/or needs, will have the following items reviewed and discussed: behavior, language, including limited English proficiency, communication, transportation, and/or autism, deaf or hard of hearing, and/or visual impairment supplements. Regarding a behavior intervention plan, or a BIP, some children require the development of a behavior intervention plan to address behaviors that interfere with his or her learning or the learning of others. A BIP, as it's often called, must include positive behavior supports as well. The BIP helps prevent the behavior from occurring and teaches and reinforces appropriate replacement behaviors. The behavior intervention plan, or BIP, is a part of your child's IEP. In respect to transportation, separate transportation needs will be addressed if your child cannot ride the typical bus system due to disability, safety, communication, or other supervision needs. In Texas, if a student has a disability condition of autism, deaf or hard of hearing, and/or visual impairment, there are additional services and areas that need to be considered and addressed. Most schools have a separate form that is completed to document that these specific needs for these students have been considered and addressed. Schools have a wide variety of placement options to meet the needs of students, as IDEA, or the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, requires that a child with a disability be educated in the least restrictive environment, or LRE. This means that your child must be educated with children who do not have disabilities to the maximum extent appropriate. Your child can only be taken out of the regular education setting if his or her disability makes it not possible for his or her needs to be met in the regular education classroom. Extended school year, or as you may frequently hear it called ESY, services, is an individualized instructional program for eligible students with disabilities that is provided beyond the regular school year. These services are provided in order to prevent loss of skills or learning over longer periods when school isn't in session. The need for ESY services must be determined by an individual on an individual basis, by the Admission Review and Dismissal Committee, or ARD Committee. The committee will look at data to determine if your child loses or is expected to lose important skills from their IEP during breaks in school. They will consider how long it takes your child to relearn skills they lose as part of considering ESY services. Children who lose important skills and do not regain them quickly over breaks may need ESY, or extended school year services. The individualized education program developed for ESY must include existing goals and objectives. New goals and objectives are not developed. At the end of the meeting, the minutes of the ARD Committee should be reviewed. The minutes are a summary of the decisions made by the ARD Committee. If any information was noted incorrectly, please speak up. The decisions recorded need to be accurate. The school must provide prior written notice to you of the decisions made as a result of the ARD Committee meeting. You should receive the prior written notice 5 school days before the school plans to take or refuses to take actions related to the identification, evaluation, or educational placement of your child. This is not a list of everything, but here are a few examples of when you should receive prior written notice. When the school would like to conduct an initial evaluation of your child, when you've asked for your child to be evaluated and the school denies your request, when the school wants to begin or change your child's identification as a child with a disability, when the school proposes or refuses a particular educational placement for your child. You would also receive a prior written notice when the school wants to change your child's educational placement, when the school wants to change aspects of the special education or related services that your child is receiving, and when the school refuses a request from you as parents or guardians with respect to the educational services your child is receiving. On the slide, these are things that need to be included in the prior written notice. The ARD process works best when the school district and parent or guardian have open communication, focus on your child's needs, and are willing to work together and follow the federal and state special education laws and regulations. All members of the ARD Committee should agree on the decisions made or come to what's called consensus if possible. The school has the ultimate responsibility to ensure that the IEP includes the services your child needs in order to receive a free and appropriate public education, or what's frequently called FAPE. The IEP must indicate whether you and the administrator agree or disagree with the decisions of the ARD Committee. If you disagree with the decisions of the ARD Committee, which indicates mutual agreement has not been achieved, then you must be offered the opportunity to end the meeting and come back later. The ARD Committee members will consider alternatives and gather additional data. And then the ARD Committee comes back together at a mutually agreed upon time and place, which also includes you as the parent or guardian. This period of time must not exceed 10 school days unless the parties mutually agree otherwise. If the committee still does not agree at the second meeting, the school must implement your child's IEP as it has determined appropriate, and the parent or guardian must be offered the opportunity to write a statement of disagreement. The school should provide a copy of the IEP to you as soon as possible following the end of the ARD meeting. Best practice would be to discuss with the school at the end of the meeting as to when you can expect to receive the written copy of the IEP document. The copy of the IEP should be provided at no cost to you. If English is not your first language, the school must make a good faith effort to provide a written copy or audio recording of your child's IEP translated into your native language. If you need an additional copy of your child's IEP, you may request one from your school district's special education or special services department. This includes during times of school closures. When you make a request for an additional copy of the IEP, be sure to share how you would like to receive it. For example, via traditional mail, pickup, email, etc. Remember, you are a valuable member of the ARD Committee, and your input and feedback is very important. So let's review some tips for advocating for your child. Know that it is okay to speak up on behalf of your child. Start by speaking with someone you trust, such as your child's teacher or related services provider, and build relationships with your child's school. Ask as many questions as you need to get clarification about the ARD Committee's proposed plan. Show emotion, but be respectful. Speaking up about your child can be emotional, but try not to make things personal. Teachers and school staff have your child's best interests at heart, even when you don't always agree. Ask about extra help, supports, and interventions that may be available to your child. And educate yourself about special education in order to be a better advocate for your child. Here are some further resources for parents and guardians. In addition, you can always contact your local education service center for information. If you're in the Houston area, that would be Region 4. And the information here is for SpedTex, the Partners Resource Network, and also the website to the Child Find Evaluation and ARD Support Statewide Network. Thank you so much for joining us today for today's webinar. And if you have any additional questions or comments, please email the Child Find Evaluation and ARD Support Statewide Network at the email address listed on the slide. Thank you all so much for your time today, and I really appreciate being here with you.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Wow, that was some excellent information. We just have a couple of minutes for questions, and then we want to get into our focus group. I hope that you will all stay on and join us for our focus group and let your voice be heard. So, Nicole, let's see what we have for questions. Again, just a reminder, if we don't have a time to answer your question, please reach out to us at Partners Resource Network, reach out to our wonderful friends at SpedTex, or you can reach out to the team at Child Find to have other questions answered. So a great question, Nicole. Are remote learner parents able to provide input into the present levels of academic achievement and functional performance?
Yes. Even if you are learning virtually right now, and that is what you have chosen to do, absolutely, during your ARD meeting, you want to provide information when during the section where we're reviewing the present levels of academic achievement and functional performance.
Wonderful, thank you. Let's do one more quick question and then we are out of time. So please reach out to us at Partners Resource Network, SpedTex, or the Child Find Network for your additional questions. So quick question, Nicole, are emails an appropriate way to request an ARD meeting?
Yes, emails are considered in writing. And so that is a great way to also request an ARD meeting, especially in this kind of hybrid environment with some of us doing virtual, some of us in person, and doing a lot of things remotely. Email would be a great way to get in contact with your child's school and make that request.
Thank you so much. I apologize that we don't have time to answer more questions, but again, we've got people waiting to answer your questions at Partners Resource Network and SpedTex and the Child Find Network. So please reach out to us with your questions, and we're going to move on.
Stephanie, real quick, we're going to let Gracie share something from the School Family and Community Engagement Initiative.
Yes.
Gracie, if you're ready.
Yeah, I am. I think I just need
Need me
share.
to
Oh, okay, let me stop sharing.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, ladies. What we have on the screen, we have our Resolving Special Education Issues with Your Child's School. It's a 2-page document that just is a supplemental resource to what Nicole has already shared. And so it's a takeaway, and we'll put the link in the box and you can access this as well. But it just provides just a quick reference sheet to show you who you can talk to. It also provides examples of what to say. Sometimes you have things on your mind and you aren't sure how to put that in words. So we have put some examples here, some conversation starters that you can customize and use when you're reaching out to your district to address issues that you may be having. And also on this document, we sorted out by region across the state who your contact individuals would be for parent involvement. So you're welcome to reach out to those individuals. And as mentioned earlier, SpedTex and PRN, we are here to help as well, and just be happy to assist anyone that calls us. But this is just a quick reference document for you. And I will drop the link here in the box. And there you have it. So please access it and take advantage of it and use that great resource.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Gracie. And thank you again for working with us to bring this webinar. Such great information. Nicole, thank you again for the wealth of information. Just a reminder, the focus group will begin in just a minute. We did record this webinar, and a recording will be available on our website at prntexas.org in the coming days. If you are needing a certificate of attendance, you will receive an email thanking you for attending today's webinar. And you can follow the link in that email to get your certificate of attendance. And on the screen now is the contact information for Partners Resource Network. You have the Director of Statewide Services, Christina, myself, and our support specialist, Chelsea. So reach out to us with your questions, reach out to SpedTex with your questions, and follow us and like us on Facebook under PRN Texas and see what's coming up as well. So thank you so much for joining us.